Okay, so the first thing you see here is going to be Ninja Village. It's basically just mashing through text. It's entirely cutscene based. Some minor platforming going on. But ultimately it's just mash through the text as fast as possible. What we're looking for here is about 150, 148. Not much to say here. What you'll see is the players slashing these lanterns and then jumping. So there is a double jump which gets refilled every time you slash something while you're in the air. So just a little bit on the story. What we've got here is our ninja has been waiting for most of his life training, waiting for the Western hero to show up. And a demon's just attacked the village, and here comes the Western hero after all this time. Again, more mashing. And here you see our players receiving the scroll. They're told to take it up to the highest mountain. You know, usual MacGuffin stuff. So here we're heading into Autumn Hills. Now as the game progresses, we get more and more difficult platforming, which is supplemented by abilities that the players will unlock as they go. So you see them collecting these yellow crystals. Those are time shards. They're used as currency within the game. Not really much else to say as we go through here. You'll just see JC's arrived at the shop, BroedgeMan just behind him. So you're forced to go into the shop here by a ledge that you can't get over. And so going into the shop gives you the climbing claws, which is our first upgrade. And you may have noticed our runners also went and bought an upgrade from the shop. So this upgrade is called Strike of the Ninja, and it allows our runners to attack projectiles that are in the air. This has the biggest advantage of allowing us to double jump from a projectile. And you see JC's just done, and Broedge is just doing now, a damage boost through these spikes. Just saves the cycle on the swing. So JC just hitting the first underwater section. So if you don't take the damage boost through the spikes, you can take the damage boost through the saw here. There isn't much difference, but the spikes is a little faster. And JC just taking the damage boost. And Broed's just behind him, taking the damage boost through the water. Just saves a couple of seconds. So the audio has just been switched to JC. Hopefully that fixes some of the issues there. So standard platforming fare, aside from this this sort of double jump, it's called a cloud step within the game. It's one of the things that makes this game unique and really interesting to run. So you see doing some nice platforming there, chance for BroedgeMan to catch up. Yeah, he does get that a little bit cleaner. He's actually just taken the lead. Very early days yet. So the climbing claws allow you to jump on onto a wall. And one of our fastest climbing techniques is to jump up the wall. We call this toe climbing, because the only part of the ninja that actually touches the wall are his toes. So BroedgeMan is just going to the shop. He's going to buy the shuriken. And he's also going to buy Second Wind, which allows you to jump out of a stun. So if you're stunned by an enemy, you can jump from that animation and you won't continuously fall until you hit the ground. It's very useful. It's we can use it for damage boosting. So both runners attempting to one-cycle this boss by running in, slashing, and blowing an entire set of shurikens straight into him. No issues for either runner there. This is blink and you'll miss it. We don't do anything in this level except run through to the bridge and drop down. There is an entire level here later on in the game, but we won't be saying that within this run. So we're dropping down into Catacombs. This is the only Phobkin that we'll see. Phobkin are little builders. The reason we can't get into the full-on temple, which was that very short level, is that the bridge is out, and the little dudes who are building the bridge are trapped in various places that they're scared of. So Catacombs has some really nice platforming. And it introduces these timed crushes, and these are on a screen cycle. So you can see BroedgeMan, JC's just reached the same room, reaching the room with where you first encounter Ruxton, who's the boss of this who's the boss of this area. So a lot of climbing walls, a lot of tight spaces, these swinging spike balls. So you can see that the platforming gets more and more complex as each level goes on through the linear section of the game. So this is only an 8-bit run of the game. There is a full 16-bit section once this part is complete. I definitely recommend checking that out. There are people running the full game version of this, but it's a very fun game casually as well. So the audio has just switched over to BroedgeMan as he's in the lead, although now JC is in the lead. But just for the sake of the audio, if we keep that on BroedgeMan so we can get that dialed in. JC just taking advantage of that Second Wind ability, which allows you to jump out of a fall. So since this is the no out of bounds category, we do run the entirety of Catacombs. Most of this is skipped in the any percent run. So here we see the second encounter with Ruxton as he summons some Wizrobes. Slightly unlucky RNG for BroedgeMan there. A little better for JC. Not too bad though. Fairly straightforward room. And here we see BroedgeMan doing the damage boost. And JC opting to take this the casual way. Again, that's another one where you can take one damage boost or another, and JC took the damage boost through the spikes underwater rather than the spikes in the swing room. Climb there. Nice, both players doing a very good climb through that vertical room. The platforming in this game is very tight, very clean. And they do shout out the Donkey Kong Country 2, which has some very tight platforming in it as well. That's one of their special thanks. So we have the Ruxton fight. This can go one of two ways. Very good RNG or very terrible RNG. BroedgeMan gets the good RNG, the acid rain on the first attack. Allows him to get up, start doing a lot of damage. They both get the acid rain on the first attack. That's excellent RNG for both of them. Though JC actually missing out on the best of that scenario. That's BroedgeMan just finishing up against Ruxton. JC should follow shortly. So again, there's a bit of dialogue just after the fight here. There we go, JC getting up top, managing to do some good damage and finish off the fight. Okay, so now we're at Bamboo. This is probably the hardest platforming in the linear part of the game. Everything's really tight, everything's quite constrained. We see BroedgeMan using a cheeky little shuriken just to actuate the switch. The water in this level does have currents, which can be used to your advantage. And they can also be a disadvantage depending on which direction they're facing in. BroedgeMan getting a nice little skip in that room. So here we see Halberd Guy. We don't really encounter him properly in the 8-bit run. Now, what you just saw BroedgeMan do, there was a little contention over that, on whether or not it was out of bounds or not out of bounds. It has been deemed not out of bounds, so you can jump over that tree. You see JC is just about to attempt that, and he does take a death to that, unfortunately. So you can jump over that tree because there's no invisible wall to clip the player. And you see BroedgeMan trying to skip this elevator now, and he does that nicely. Takes the checkpoint and into the next section. And JC opting for the casual strategy for this room. Unfortunately, sometimes you just have to. It's, you know, it can be quite tricky. And BroedgeMan doing the climbing sections. He's opting to take an easier route through this quite awkward room. If you drop to the bottom, there's an elevator. He's fairly low on shards here, but he should be okay. So we want around 270 when we leave Bamboo Creek. Now, since JC took a death, you saw a little red demon following him around. That's Quabble. And he will eat your time shards for a little while after you die, in exchange for stopping you from dying. So he will be at a slight disadvantage time shard wise. You can see he's slashing a lot of lanterns on the way past. So each of those lanterns gives you three time shards. So BroedgeMan just coming up to the pitfall of Catacombs, sorry, Howling Grotto, where we get the wingsuit, which allows us to glide And he's also picked up Currents Master, which allows you to swim in exactly one place in this shortened run. And he's also picked up Aerobatics Warrior, which allows him to downward slash, as you just saw him do there, while using the wingsuit. If you don't have that ability, you don't get a normal slash. You just don't have an attack while you're gliding. So that Aerobatics Master is quite important. Previously, before we had the time shards routed out properly, what we were doing was buying extra health and then buying Aerobatics Master in the next area, which was causing something of a disadvantage. So the run has gotten a couple of minutes shorter since that change was made. So we have a lot of spikes in this area. It really forces you to use the wingsuit. You can see JC just took that, rather than taking the straight vertical path, he took the path through the spikes. Quite a difficult thing to do if you're not used to it. But it does teach you to use the wingsuit. And for the most part, fairly standard platforming. Though there are some tight spaces that you really need to use the movement abilities to get through. Several of us have done this run without any skippable upgrades, so any upgrades that aren't mandatory. BroedgeMan just using Currents Master, that ability for the one time you'll see it. In that water pool there, you get a slight boost when you use Currents Master, and you can jump out of the water and maintain your momentum. And the only reason we actually buy it is because Aerobatics Master is next up in the chain, so you have to take that one first. There we see JC doing the same thing. And if you're gliding in while you enter that next room, you do get a slight advantage on cycles. It does progress the cycle just a little more. So now we see BroedgeMan going up against Emerald Golem, the boss of the Howling Grotto area. That's the first of our sort of mega bosses. So what he's going to do here, he's going to attack the core 7 times. There's the 7th hit, and he will then shuriken, so he gets the most amount of time up at the top of the screen to deal damage to the boss. Since he went up the left side, he's gone through the boss's head and to the right side, because in that second phase, it's always the right hand that moves up first. I wasn't sure how many times he hit there, so he just threw 2 shurikens at the end. JC just coming in now to Emerald Golem. And BroedgeMan onto the second phase of the fight. The second phase is a further 7 hits. So we start off low right at the bottom of the screen, try and damage him as much as possible. That was a very, very clean Emerald fight. Didn't take any damage. JC only took 1 damage, which I believe is the best that he's done on this fight. Yeah, you can see on BroedgeMan's screen. So what happens there is that you've walked into this this sort of boss arena and you've got trapped in, but all this green dude was actually doing was just having fun digging in a golem, and you destroyed his golem. So he's sad. So we pan back down, as you see on JC's screen, and we pan back down to him having a little cry at the end there. So the next area here is Quilt Room Marsh, and just that shop door that BroedgeMan got to there, that would be where we would previously have bought the aerobatics upgrade. So this area is really nice for platforming. It's quite an open area, a lot like Autumn Hills. But now we have the wingsuit. We can glide. It makes things a lot cleaner. There are a lot of nice little tricks that we can do. So you can see BroedgeMan here opting to not kill that skeleton bird, so you can use it to skip a zigzagging, sort of tediously long path. I'm getting stuck in the quicksand there. Very tight jump that, and he doesn't quite make it over the ring. So these thorny pillar enemies were introduced in Bamboo Creek. We didn't really see much of them there, but you'll see a few more in this area. So things start getting a little tighter now where BroedgeMan is. We've got these tight sort of zigzagging maze corridors, which can be quite awkward, but navigated without too much difficulty there. Nice mini climb there, and jaysee actually makes that little jump over the ring of... I'm not sure what those are. Spiky blob things. If anyone has a better name for them than spiky blob things, feel free to drop that in the chat. And BroedgeMan just missing that second slash there. When you jump diagonally through lanterns, you can slash them twice and get a nice big diagonal jump, though it can be quite tricky. Alright, now we're approaching spiky ball things, yeah. Now we're approaching Queen of Quills, the boss of this area. Quite a tricky boss. There is a strategy to manipulate her position, which we see BroedgeMan accomplishing the first section of. She should jump down and then attack again. Now if he does enough damage here, she should, yep, she's moved on to a whip phase. And then she'll jump up Queen of Quills. And because BroedgeMan hasn't taken a death, when he sees Quilbull appear, the quill-cursed version of Quawble, he doesn't know what's going on at all. We'll see a slightly longer cutscene when jaysee takes the queen down, because he's encountered Quawble. I've been editing some values within the game, and his name appears to have originally been Quibble. So BroedgeMan encountering a wall that he can't get up, and also a ring, goes into the shop one last time, and here comes the rope dart, our final upgrade. So the rope dart is a rope dart. It's often called the hook shot, even though it's not a hook shot because there's no hook. It allows you to grab onto rings, lanterns, enemies, walls. Basically anything, except for there are some sort of voided walls. It is not a grapple hook. That's right. There's no hook. It's a dart. Another ring of pain. I like ring of pain rather than circle of pain. But that's pretty good. I like that. Nice climb there from BroedgeMan. So Syrian Crags, this area here, this is my favourite for platforming. It brings all of the abilities that you've gained together, aside from Currents Master, because It's completely useless. It's not useless in the full game, but it is useless in 8-bit. Some good climbing. So you will see some of the best vertical platforming in the game here. And BroedgeMan taking that quite nicely. Just manipulating the position of those enemies on screen. You see a little skip here from BroedgeMan. Uses the projectile to jump and skip the bottom right corner of the screen. Sorry, speech impediment kicking in. It does that. And here are Collison Susses, the bodybuilding kind of Cyclops things. The only reason they're actually fighting you is because they want to fight. They just enjoy fighting. Hey, that's my emote. So it could be a quite tricky fight. It's RNG dependent. There are some varying attacks that they use. The red guy you can only hit from the back, and the green guy you can only hit from the front. But the hook gives you... Hook. See, I'm reading chat. The rope dart gives you an advantage there, because you can use it to pass through the enemy. You can also use it to gain some iframes, a lot like dodging in, rolling in Dark Souls. Just at the end of the movement, you do gain a few iframes. So, straightforward fight for BroedgeMan. We'll see how jaysee does on the same. As BroedgeMan goes up to Glacial Peak, our final outdoor area of the game. And you'll see what I mean after he finishes this area. jaysee getting some less beneficial RNG. Those duo attacks do waste some time. So the platforming in Glacial Peak is fairly complex. It is still nice and open, but it does increase in complexity. There's a lot more risk involved in the platforming here. A lot of open pits, a lot of spikes. And spikes do a lot more damage than anything else in the game. Except the lasers in the final area of the 8-bit run. So jaysee just coming up to Glacial Peak now. So you see some slight differences in the runs. jaysee opting to take right side boost up to the screen there, where BroedgeMan took the left side. Ultimately, those things are mostly preference. There's not a lot of time difference at all. BroedgeMan opted for the slower climb over these lifting lantern things. We'll see if jaysee does the quicker climb there. So the climbing is fairly complex, using combinations of the abilities that we've picked up along the way. jaysee taking another death, unfortunately. BroedgeMan just finishing up Glacial Peak. Meeting up with the rope dudes. Another thing to mention about Glacial Peak is the obvious ice physics, because it's a platformer. Retro platformer needs ice physics. Not a huge fan myself, though it's not the worst ice physics. Especially since you spend so little time. There we go, JC doing the quicker strat through that room. You spend so little time actually on the platforms and so much time in the air. When you speedrun this game, this area doesn't matter too much in terms of the ice physics. So BroedgeMan in the last area of the 8-bit run, the Tower of Time. This is entirely puzzle platforming. It's more platforming than puzzle, but you know, there is a right way to do most of it. So a lot of it is just getting these time switches to turn off the laser and then getting through before the spark reaches the door that you've opened. And JC just finishing up Glacial Peak there. BroedgeMan succumbing to the temptation of not taking damage when leaving that crystal. If you slash while you're still stood on the crystal, you will slash it again and you will go back the way you came. It does waste some time. Those wizard dudes are probably the worst RNG in this game. They probably have the most negative effect on time as well. So the No Out of Bounds run is mostly about optimizing your platforming, pulling the skills that you've learned all together and making the best of it. I wonder if he's going to go for the damage boost here. It would make sense, but he's not. BroedgeMan taking that the legit way. He could have taken a damage boost there and saved a few seconds. JC getting somewhat better RNG on the wizard room. And not saving any shurikens for the long and tedious crystal room. You can actuate those crystals using a shuriken, which saves you running across the entire bottom of that room. Not entirely sure how much time it saves because the animation of the light ball is quite slow. Another wizard room. Another pile of rubbish RNG. And JC does take the damage boost, saving himself a couple of seconds there. Though he is critically low on health. BroedgeMan just getting to the worst time waster room of the run. Hit the crystal, go through the tube, hit the crystal, go through the tube, and repeat. I'd say repeat until bored, but you're bored long before you get to the end. You just have to keep repeating. So BroedgeMan just about to do the cool bit with the falling platforms and the lasers and everything looks amazing. So here's the final challenge that the robe dudes give you. Not entirely sure why they do this. I think they're just overexcited at testing the new messenger. So this is the Arcane Golem. I refer to him as Arcane Sigma because obviously he looks a lot like Sigma with his giant hands and slash in his face. BroedgeMan having very little difficulty with this fight. And that is him done. It was an excellent run. Jaysee just starting his Arcane Golem fight. I believe that is actually a PB for BroedgeMan. His former PB was 36.23, so he should be pretty pleased with that. Jaysee abusing the iframes of the rope dart there. Should be fairly straight. Yep. And there he is done as well, 37.01. And again, that will be a PB for Jaysee. So congratulations to both of those runners. Just going to see if we can get Jaysee in for an interview here. Hey, Jaysee.
Hello.
Hey. GG, I think that was a PB for you, wasn't it?
A 43-second PB.
Yeah, so you're on 37.45.
What's that?
You were on 37.45 previously?
Yes.
So, GG, congratulations on the PB. That was a really nice run.
And I'm understanding that BroedgeMan got a PB as well?
Yes, I believe so. Around 40 seconds.
Pretty good.
So, yeah, pretty good. So, you know, how do you feel about your run?
Just some other new things I need to learn. Especially that one checkpoint after in what is it, Bamboo Creek?
Oh yeah, where you jump over the tree.
Yeah, I didn't know about that. I didn't know it didn't need the cloud step, and I missed it.
Yeah, it's worth practicing these things, especially the individual tricks.
Yeah, it wasn't worth trying to go for this run since I just learned about it right before the race.
Sure, absolutely.
I forgot the other place that. Oh yeah, I messed up Quilt Room March pretty bad somehow. I forgot what happened, but oh well. Yep, I figured it could be a somewhat close match looking at BroedgeMan's PB before the last night, and knew it could easily go in either one of our favors, depending on mistakes, in a pretty large way.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was very close for a lot of the run. I think what really sealed it for BroedgeMan was you taking a couple of deaths. For a lot of the run, it was very close.
Nice. So, it's a really fun run. I love it too much right now.
Yeah, it's a great game. It's good fun to play, good fun to run. I do recommend everyone grab a copy of this game and get involved. It's great fun. We do have a Discord. Just, get involved. I think that should just about wrap it up.
Yep, so thanks for stopping by, all. There'll be a ton more matches of this game coming up in the near future.
Yeah, I think the next race that we have on Speed Gaming is going to be tomorrow at 12 p.m. EDT. That's going to be Cami versus Morazio. So that should be good fun.
Oh yeah, thanks for commentating.
Yeah, thanks for running, and thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to follow the runners, and have a good time.